WNST, Taos and Bay are not playing any longer. We are awaiting the damn Yankees to begin postseason play in a second round here this weekend. And, of course, the Ravens taking on the Bears, and half of Chicago's in town with Northwestern and the Terps on Saturday. But it is hockey season, and we're going to visit at least once a week with this guy, if not twice a week. We had him on a little earlier this week as our hockey insider. And, you know, on the back end of a Caps-Penguins game, you definitely want to talk about it when the Caps win and beat on your chest, as we did at one point last year when the Caps embarrassed them early in the year. The Caps, however, skidding on home ice on Wednesday night, losing to the Penguins 3-2 after blowing a lead against Tampa Bay. Ed Frankovic joins us here. He, of course, is our Caps blogger, insider, historian, and, doesn't take much of a Caps historian to know Caps and Penguins doesn't work out well for the Caps a lot of the time, Ed.
No, the Caps have really done well against them in the regular season in recent years, as you mentioned. But on Wednesday night, it was mostly Penguins till late in the game, and a lot of that falls on the Capitals' penalty problems. 4 games in, we've taken 22 penalties. They've really got to clean that up. And Pittsburgh got 3 power play goals, and the Capitals were in 6 tries, and the Caps were 0 for 4 on their power play. Really, this game wouldn't have been close at the end if not for Braden Holtby as well.
Well, in the flow of how they're playing, right? Like, they make all the noise last weekend with all the goals. I don't think any of us thought they were going to win 75 games this year. We didn't predict that. We didn't believe that. But the disappointment comes when they are measured head-to-head in a game where there's a little bit of rest involved. There's some home ice involved. Obviously, there's some, blood and spit and tape and everything else involved from last year. It is one of those nights where you don't want to be driving home after the game saying what happened, especially looking at the weekend because, the pace of this schedule early on is pretty dramatic, and the kinds of opponents they're facing, including this weekend and a couple of pretty good teams, you want to beat the Penguins at home. You want to be better than that. You don't want to feel like you were playing 4-on-5 lopsided ice the way they felt like most of the night, right?
Yeah, you would have thought they would have come out with more jump, more energy, more legs. They just never really got in a rhythm until it was too late. And they, again, a couple penalties, but those penalties were the Niskanen and Carlson ones early on were just not skating. You got to be moving your feet, and these are 2 of your veterans that you would think would be ready to play this game, and they just weren't. And I thought Dmitry Orlov had his worst game of the season. I thought Kuznetsov had his worst game of the season. Nicholas Backstrom and TJ Oshie were going, but it's hard to win. You're not going to beat that lineup, that stacked Penguins lineup, when you only have a few guys going. And Sidney Crosby was really playing well, and the Penguins were skating. They skated, and the Capitals didn't, and that's why they were able to get those power plays. And I didn't really like the call on Holtby for covering the puck, but the one that really killed them was the chase on penalty right at the end of the second period after Christian Jews, who was another bright spot. And we can talk about the defense in a minute because I think we're going to see some changes there. But the penalty by Eric Chason was just unacceptable with 4 seconds left in the second period on the wall like that, and the Penguins scored that goal early in the third period to make it 3-1, and then the Capitals started playing, but it was too much to overcome. So there's some guys I'm not real happy with. I wasn't real happy with the effort from some of the vets, and with Tom Wilson now coming back from suspension, I think there's going to be some changes. I don't think you're going to see 14 forwards carried. I would like to see a change on the back end as well, a couple changes on the back end. So we'll see what happens here with Brian McClellan and Barry Trotz as we head into New Jersey for Friday night.
Maybe it's also like the way I watch baseball or football, but anytime earlier in the season, I'm looking for the guys that I don't know, the numbers I don't know, the guys I haven't seen before, and all the hubbub about the Australian kid, and so all of this newness is fresh to me as a fan. But you do find that you judge the Chasons a little bit more when there's a penalty like that, and you're like, well, he's going to wear the sort of like last year when they made the trade for Shattenkirk. You looked at him and said, all right, what's he bringing right away, right? Like any new faces, my eye gravitates to that player for some reason.
Yeah, it's a good point. And with Chason, I'm not sure what he brings different to the table right now. And I think if I was him, I'd be worried about a roster spot today. Now, he's on a one-way contract. He's going to get paid. But just because you're on a one-way contract doesn't mean you stay in the NHL. He basically played the Tom Wilson spot for 4 games and didn't do well at all. I mean, I didn't see much out of him. I don't think he's a very good skater. I mean, he may have beaten an icing on one play, but I'm not impressed. I'm not sure why they signed him. If I was the GM of the team, he'd be the one going down with Wilson coming back, taking his spot. Nathan Walker didn't even get to play on Wednesday night. That was a bit of a head scratcher for me. I would have rather seen him in instead of Tyler Graovac. I think Walker brings a little bump to him, a little juice to him, and I think they could have used that against the Penguins. So I think there will be some changes up front when they go into New Jersey on Friday. On the back end, Christian Hughes made his NHL debut. He scored a goal. He set up Alex Ovechkin for the goal to bring them within 1. He played extremely well in the offensive end. He's a very good offensive defenseman. Yes, he has his problems on the defensive end. He's a smaller guy. He needs to get bigger. He needs to keep working. But I really see him as a more upside than Aaron Ness and Taylor Chorney are showing right now. So I'd like to see him in the lineup. And I believe with the fact that Wilson's back, they're not going to carry 14 forwards. Someone's going down to Hershey. And I think that will give them the cap room to bring up Madison Bowie on the right side, a right-hand defenseman who's down in Hershey. But his dollar figure was a little too high for them to keep. I really would like to see him come up. So I would like to see some moves made by McClellan on Thursday, heading into Friday's game.
Well, you talk about Friday's game, and by the way, my birthday is Saturday, Ed. Please don't let the Philadelphia Flyers try to wreck my birthday. You know, when I saw the schedule come out, I'm like, they play the Flyers on my birthday. That could go very poorly. But this is an interesting time for the 2 games back-to-back, Jersey and Philly, sort of easy travel. But the Devils have played really well the start of the season, and there have been some surprises. A week into the season, right?
Yeah, the Devils are 3-0. They beat the Leafs, who were undefeated. And I believe that game, yes, it was in Toronto on Wednesday night. So the Devils are feeling good about themselves. Marcus Johansson's playing well. Yeah, Taylor Hall. They have a lot of speed in their lineup. They're a different team. They have a good goalie in Corey Schneider. The thing to worry about is their defense. If the Capitals can get on their defense. And that's where the Capitals play their best hockey, is when they're putting the puck behind the other team's defense and forechecking. They really didn't get into any type of rhythm against the Penguins on that till late in the game. And that's what the Capitals have to get. They have to come out with some jump and throw the pucks deep and get on this Devils team. And the same thing with the Flyers. The Flyers have a very good young defense. They still got Wayne Simmons. They still got Claude Giroux. Their goaltending is always going to be questionable, the Flyers. So, yes, can't lose to them on Saturday night on your birthday. I can deal with losing to the Penguins. They're the Cup champs. It's early in the year. The Capitals are still trying to shake some things out. But I never take a Flyers loss acceptably. They got to beat the Flyers on Saturday.
They got the Maple Leafs next week, too. And, look, we saw what they were all about. Now, I may go down to the game on Tuesday night. I got that one it's in number 2 pencil right now, Ed. It's not fully in ink yet, but I'm looking at it. And I love the way the Leafs play. I went to the regular season game last year. Obviously, went back and forth up to Toronto for the postseason and saw some games with you as well. They are the emerging team, right? They are the great hope for the NHL this year, right?
Yeah, they are. Them and the Edmonton Oilers with Austin Matthews in Toronto and then Connor McDavid up in Edmonton. Those are the 2 young players that have been at the top of the draft in 2016 and
have already blossomed. They're already the Machados and the Bryce Harpers, not the guys that aren't. They are the R's.
Yeah, McDavid and Matthews are the new Ovechkin Crosby. They're going to be the face of the league here in a few years. McDavid, already had 100 points last season. Matthews is off to a great start. We saw what the Leafs team and what he could do in the playoffs. They took the Capitals to 6 games. And they've added Patrick Marleau. So they have a very good team. With the Leafs, the questions are on the back end and the net. Can that hold up to match the firepower they have up front? That's going to be a fun game on Tuesday night. So the Capitals really have to get to work. They have to get back to playing the game they played against Montreal, where they came out and they got pucks deep. They put pucks to the net. That's another thing I didn't like about the Capitals on Wednesday night was they just didn't shoot enough. They got back into that overpassing mode, which they tend to do far too often against Pittsburgh. I mean, there was one play where Nicholas Backstrom comes across the line and leaves a great drop pass to John Carlson. You've got 2 guys going to the net. What does Carlson do? Instead of shooting the puck hard on net, and trying to generate a rebound or even beating Murray with the shot, he passes it off back to Backstrom, who's now at a bad angle and not at a good shooting angle. They don't even get a shot on net. Those are the kind of things that Coach Trotz needs to look at on Thursday and show the film of. These guys have got to get more pucks to the net, and they got to get more bodies to the net. You look at how Pittsburgh won the game. Yes, the 3 goals were on the power play, but every one of them was right around the crease because they got bodies to the net and pucks to the net. Capitals' power play was atrocious. They didn't get very many shots. They didn't get bodies to the net. So that was the difference in the game. Net presence is something we talk about all the time with the Capitals. Sometimes I don't understand why they don't get the message. Alex Ovechkin got the message late in the game. He went to the net. He scored the goal. If you want money, you go to the bank. If you want goals, you go to the top of the crease and score there. And that's what the Capitals aren't doing enough of. Or at least they didn't do enough of that against the Penguins on Wednesday night.
Well, Alex Ovechkin with the fireworks over the weekend, I'm fair to say, and having watched, the better part of 3 full games here, he feels very vibrant, very, you notice him again, and even when you notice him and the puck's on his stick, it feels like he's doing things with it that he wasn't doing last year or even so much the year before.
Yeah, he definitely has improved his ability to skate, his conditioning. You can see he's lighter, he's moving better. He's playing well, but he needs a center to get him the puck. And on Wednesday night, Kuznetsov he had his worst game of the year. Let's just be honest. There's several guys had their worst game of the year. They weren't ready. They didn't play well. It wasn't until late in the game that Kuznetsov really got going, and but it was too late. And but Ovechkin, I thought he played hard. He's better on the wall. He's better defensively right now because he's skating. He's not. When he couldn't skate last year, it was really easy for the other team to throw the puck to the point and have a lot of room to set up in the offensive zone on him when he was on defense. You're not seeing as much of that this year.
He is Ed Frankovic. You can follow him out on Twitter and, of course, Ed at WNST.net, blogging off the Caps games. All right, just around the league a little bit because we talked about the opponents coming up here in New Jersey and Philly and Toronto next week at home. The Vegas Knights. By the way, if you need any insights there, my boy Robbie Inchbakowski, my longtime friend who was at one time the Blast PA announcer and dear friend of Brian Baldinger, he's on the beat out there. He got reassigned by his company. He was doing Pittsburgh Pirates games, and when the Pirates season ended, they have shipped him out to Vegas on an assignment, and he's covering the Vegas Knights and living in Vegas right now. So that just happened like sort of all of a sudden last week. I mean, it even happened after the tragedies out there. They've gotten off to an incredible start, right? I mean, much better than the Caps did back in 73-74, right?
Yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights got a much better team than the Capitals did in 74-75. That was probably the worst expansion draft ever. Abe Poland really got taken for a ruse on that. But Vegas is 3-0. They had 2 games against Arizona, who I firmly believe will be the worst team in the league. They don't have a good roster at all. I mean, Jeff Halpern was in a 41-year-old Jeff Halpern who, retired for a few years ago from the Caps and was coaching in Syracuse, got a PTO, a part-time tryout to go try out for the team in Arizona. So that tells you all you really need to know about it, what kind of woes Arizona has. But the way Marc-Andre Fleury played early on, it was very much like what he did to the Capitals in the second round of the playoffs. If you get good goaltending and you have a good D, you're going to be in a lot of games, and that's going to be Vegas. They're going to have trouble scoring goals. James Neal's off to a hot start. He's got 5 goals. But I really think Vegas is going to be Vegas is once they get into the meat of schedule and start playing teams like Calgary and LA and San Jose and Anaheim, the teams in their division, they're going to feel it. And then, Calgary, Jaromir Jagr signed a 1-year deal with them, and they're off to a 3-1 start. They finally are getting some goaltending. I expect them to be right up there in that division. Mike Smith came over from Arizona. The Flames actually hadn't won a game in Anaheim since 2004, and they went into Anaheim so that's 13 seasons. That's a long streak. They stopped that streak. I like what we're seeing out of St. Louis and Chicago out west as well. Chicago 3-0-1, beat the Penguins 10-1 last week. So there's some teams really off to good starts. The Blues are 4-0 out west, and it's going to be interesting. I think there's maybe 9 or 10 teams fighting for 8 spots out there if you do the math on it, and so it's going to be interesting. I think the real battles are going to be in the East. I think it's going to be much harder to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference.
By the way, I see Jagr out there running around at 45 and playing at this point. You're urinating on Jeff Halpern's comeback at 41. Dude, I'm 49 this weekend, so I can't be, I can't imagine the Jagr thing, right? I mean, and he was a guy that looked completely disinterested in playing hockey when he was making $8 million a year wearing those hideous Blues jerseys of the Capitals, right? Like, he looked like the last guy that in 2017 would still be playing hockey, right?
Yeah, when he was with the Capitals here, he was happier when he was sitting out a game than when he was playing. It'd be amazing to see what he really would have done if he had the attitude he has now with the body he had when he was late 20s, when he was with the Capitals. he just had immense talent, but he was not dialed into hockey back then. Somehow he's managed to keep himself in shape, and he's still around. He's still playing, and good for Jeff Halpern for being able to get that tryout. It was more dumping on the the Coyotes for their mismanagement. But us old guys got to stick together, and I think it's just amazing that Jágr's still playing. Calgary feels like they've got a team that can go deep in the playoffs, and they feel like Jágr's a guy that can help them up front. So they were willing to take the chance on him. So got to give him thumbs up for being able to keep himself in shape and still be able to play, and he's got the perfect attitude for it now. So it's just a little maddening as a Caps guy to know what he was like when he was around the team. He was a cancer back in that day, and would have been nice to see that attitude then. We may have a Stanley Cup banner already hanging from the rafters had he been a little more dialed in back then.
You know what? And I couldn't even have you on after the elimination last year because you were so pissed about it. And I would say the same thing. We could sit here all day and just have a gripe-a-thon, right, about the Caps and about the Nashville trade and about things that have gone wrong and things that could have happened in the Brian Murray era and. And here we are, and you lose to the Penguins 3-2 in the beginning of the season, and the haters are going to hate at that point, right? I mean, losing to the Penguins is always unacceptable, even in October. Caps heading off to New Jersey, and then to Philadelphia. As long as he beat Philadelphia on my birthday, Ed, that's all I'm asking for. That's not much, right?
Yeah, I mean it's game number 4. People have to remember, but I mean, people are going to write the Capitals off. They already have, but there's some things that came out of the game on Wednesday night that you really have to be positive about. Christian Hughes was certainly one of them. Braden Holtby playing well in that. The goaltending on this team is very good. So if they can get that back end fixed and then get these guys up front going a little bit, getting the puck going a little more east-west, more on the net, they still have a very good team. They're still a top 5 team, and it's a long season. That's why I really want to see Christian Hughes in the lineup. I want to see Nathan Walker in the lineup, and I want to see Madison Bowie in the lineup. I want to see these guys develop. I think they have a great defensive coach in Todd Reardon, and I think these guys have an upside. And Pittsburgh, what we've seen Pittsburgh do the last 2 years is bring guys up from Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and develop them. Jake Gensel, or from college. These Connor Sheary. Those guys are the ones that win in the playoffs and added speed and a little depth to the lineup that this allowed them to get over the hump against the Capitals. The Capitals need to turn the tables, put some of these young guys in, and develop them for the postseason. Because I firmly believe the Capitals will be in the playoffs. It's just a matter of can they amp their game at the right time.
We will check in with Ed Frankovic again next week, hopefully with a happier Caps report, although there is some good news. There's some health there, and Ovechkin's playing well. They're on the backside of a loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins. You can find Ed at WNST.net, as well as Ed Frankovic out on Twitter. He'll also be watching the Ravens over the weekend as well. You can find me out in the BuyAToyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from wherever you happen to be. Our morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. That's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life, guaranteed. Last but never least, breaking news happens first at the WNST Tech Service. And we hope to not have so many injuries on the infirmary report this week for the Ravens. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday, each and every Thursday. Christos in this week to get you ready for the weekend of football. Last but never least, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. And next week, have a little Dundalk appreciation on Friday for the Dundalk Hall of Fame bid. Highest honor ever bestowed upon me. I'll drink it all in, and then I'll probably go to Costas for some crab cakes afterwards. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.